Everyone says, just speak more, but reading is actually what builds fluency. I've learned languages through living abroad, teaching, and self-study, and reading has been one of the main things that always work. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to get into why reading works and why you should keep it in your arsenal, one of your daily language learning habits. Number one benefit to reading is that reading builds natural sentence structure. So have you ever realized that when you learn that new language, you're constantly trying to translate and try to guess at what things mean or guess at the translation of things? Well, when you're reading things, you'll start to see the pattern on your own and you'll start to realize that, okay, this is how you say this. When you begin to read a lot, you start thinking in that language instead of translating word for word. For one, grammar becomes intuitive, and for two, you absorb patterns without memorizing words. And yes, it is okay to learn the grammar, but seeing the grammar in context will help it stick more to your brain. The second benefit to reading is that vocabulary sticks a lot better through reading. You can spend all day with your flashcards and you can spend all day memorizing words that you wrote down in your notebook. But nothing sticks more than when you're reading something and you're actually relating something or the vocabulary comes out in the story. The one thing that I will always say is that you learn better through experience. And one thing about that is that vocabulary sticks better through context. You've probably already realized this, but your brain connects better through story. Your brain remembers things better when they're part of a story. Context is better than flashcards alone, because with flashcards alone, you are just seeing the word in the language and then the word in your native language. It's not much more you can relate to. And I love it because you're getting repeated exposure without the pressure of memorizing that one specific word. You can read a whole text about being at the airport, and there's a lot more information than just the vocabulary word airport, but by the end of it, you've probably mastered how to say the word airport and amongst other things. And benefit number 3 is that reading improves speaking. Reading improves speaking because when you are reading the words on the page, or whether you're reading them ahead or you read them out loud, when you do come to finally say those words, because you know how to pronounce them, it won't sound like a jumbled up mess, or you won't seem so scared to finally do it. For me, I read aloud, which in that moment I am practicing my pronunciation, my intonation, and my accent, and you're reading and you're speaking. So in the same time, you are simultaneously studying both of these things. One of the main reasons that people freeze when they speak is because they don't have enough input. They don't have enough information or vocabulary enough to speak and say what they want to say. So reading gives you that vocabulary and it gives you that confidence to finally speak and pull out those words that you have learned. Remember, reading feeds speaking. And then the final thing is that reading builds cultural intuition. Now, I know that you learn and you try to learn a language, and then when you get to the country, you're like, wait. This is completely different from what I learned. When you read and you engage yourself in different dialects or slang and things like that, you'll start to realize, oh, there is an actual spoken language. I don't want to sound like a textbook after all. And you get to start picking up the fun part of the language, the slang, you're in on all the jokes. So reading definitely helps you build that well-roundedness in that language. This is how you stop sounding like a textbook. You pick up humor, tone, politeness, and slang. Now, one of the main reasons why people probably skip this part is because they start to get overwhelmed. The biggest mistake people make when reading in a language is that they haven't chosen the right materials for them. When finding something to read in a language, you need to make sure that the content is not too difficult to you and not too easy, but just at the point where you can understand it but also gain more vocabulary. So, when you're early on, put the novels back. Do not translate every word, and do not stop every sentence. Read, try to come to a consensus about what it's about. If there's pictures, try to compare and contrast, and try to see what you did grasp from that reading. Also, make sure you reread and try to peep the patterns that you see. Remember, read slightly above your level, give the words you don't need, and focus on understanding the idea, not perfection. And I will show you an example with this Turkish Simple Stories for Beginners. Now, this is the type of book that I would recommend for a beginner learning a language. In this book, it gives you a picture, it gives you the title, and it gives you a short dialogue. In this picture, you can see that they are clearly at the airport. There's an airplane in the background. They look like they're meeting for the first time. And in this little speech bubble, it says Almanya. Now, I didn't necessarily know what it meant until I thought about it because I speak multiple languages, and in Spanish, that is Alemania, similar to that, which means Germany. And for me, I know that all languages are connected. So in my mind, before reading the story, I can tell that they're at the airport and they look like they're meeting for the first time. So let's take a read. Now I'm going to begin practicing reading. I'm going to practicing my pronunciation and things like that. I'm not going to translate anything. Ana havalananda. Mehmet havalananda. Merhaba. Merhaba. Benim adım Ana. Ben Almanyalıyım. Benim adım Ahmet. Ben Türkiye'liyim. Memnun oldum Mehmet. Ben de memnun oldum Ana. So, now I've finished reading it. I look back at the picture. I look back at the reading. Now, for me, I already know what this says because I'm further than this in Turkish. But you can clearly see they're saying hello. Merhaba, merhaba, that clearly means hello because they're both saying it to each other. Benim adım Ana, ben Almanyalıyım. Benim adım Ana. So, it's showing the dialogue, the person speaking is Ana. You can infer that benim adım means my name is. Benim adım Ana, ben Almanyalıyım. Ben Almanyalıyım, which means probably I'm from Germany. In the next one, Mehmet says, benim adım Mehmet. Ben Türkiye'liyim. You can infer what that means. And then at the end, they say, memnun oldum Mehmet. Ben de memnun oldum Ana. Probably meaning, nice to meet you. Now, obviously, you're not going to begin reading when you have no knowledge. You are going to begin reading when you have developed some vocabulary in the language, and also you need to master the pronunciation of the alphabet. If you haven't mastered the alphabet, you cannot read. If you have not mastered the pronunciation of each letter sound, you cannot read. Once that step is finished, begin reading, even if it's not 100% perfect, it's 80% perfect. Start reading because that's when you can really develop those skills in the pronunciation because you'll start to see it more, okay? So you learn through experience, like I always say. And now we get to the part on what you should read based on your level. So if you are a beginner, I would recommend short dialogues like these, children's books, and graded readers. And as a beginner, make sure you find books and dialogues that have pictures so that you can depend a little bit more on that than the direct translation. And whatever you do, try not to translate all the time. Try to get the overall idea rather than translating everything because I promise you it'll help you remember more through experience and kind of figuring it out yourself. For intermediate learners, I would recommend newspaper articles, blog posts, social media captions, and you can still read those short stories as well to thicken up your vocabulary as well. But as well as focusing on vocabulary, learning new words, I want you to focus on your sentence structure now. Start to find those patterns and just really notice them. And for my advanced learners, I want you guys to focus on essays, short stories, and even opinion pieces. This way, you guys can not only continue to strengthen the language, but maintain that language as well. So this is exactly how I approach Spanish and Arabic and how I'm definitely going to start honing in on Turkish. So for my personal routine, and I hope you guys end up trying it too, I try to read for 20 to 30 minutes aloud to myself. It really helps me tremendously as far as fixing my pronunciation and not trembling over my words so much. Building that natural flow with the language so that my mouth is accustomed to making that shape when I'm, saying certain words or letter sounds. And also just really practicing my intonation, my accent, my pronunciation. So if you're up for it too, find some time in the day to read, whether it's before work or before bed, highlight words and phrases, and even writing some sentences after reading. I want to show you guys a book that I got off of Amazon that I've really been enjoying a lot lately, and this has been very monumental as far as my Turkish learning journey. I'm trying to find one that's a little more on my level. This one is very easy for me, but I want to show you this book. So this book is Learn Turkish Through Stories, 10 Simple Tales for Beginners. And I want to show you what it is all about. So here is a story here. It always shows you a picture, it gives you the title, and then it gives you a short dialogue. So before reading, you can look at the picture and try to understand what the story is going to be about, and then you can read it. And what I like to do is down here, I like to translate word for word what I think this dialogue says. On the next page, if you are not good at reading yet, it gives you a phonetic pronunciation, which I love for those who are not there yet. And then on this side, it gives you a translation in English of what the dialogue actually means. On the next page, it gives you a vocabulary list so you can reflect on the vocabulary words. And then on this side, it gives you a grammar overview for our grammar nerds. And then the final page is just some comprehension questions. And what I like to do is not only circle the answer, but write a sentence answering the question in a complete sentence. I really love things like this because it gives you like that holistic view of the language. So if you want more realistic language learning tips, well, you came to the right place. Stay tuned for more videos, and like I always say, don't say I never told you anything, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!